Everyone. As promised, videos are happening after Worlds. Today is just going to be a quick recap of my games at Worlds this year, as well as a bit of a test of a new microphone I'm trying out. My old headset microphone, which was not that good to begin with, died or something went wrong with it. It no longer works. This is a headset that I used to use for work. Again, mic quality is still probably not good. Might even be worse than the previous one, but if videos were going to come out anytime soon, it was going to have to be with this mic probably, so hopefully everything sounds okay. But I won't waste too much time. Just a quick video today going over my experience at Worlds at Adepticon 2024. Um, Long story short, it was fantastic. The games were good, and I'll get into the games a little bit, but just being at Worlds this year was awesome. There are, I didn't realize how many people I know in the scene from all over the world. I probably knew at least a quarter, maybe more, of all the people who were at Worlds, both competing and then just there hanging out and playing other games. So it was really awesome to get together with everyone again. It's kind of like a big family reunion with family from around the world. We all come together to share this really cool thing that we do together. And so that was easily the best part, and remains the best part of going to the World Championships is the people. I think in Armada we are blessed with a really, really good scene, like a good group of folks. Obviously, there's bad apples here and there, but more so than other games I've played, there's so much less toxicity, there's so much more, camaraderie, and we all seem to get along much better than other games. And I really appreciate that and don't want to take that for granted. So that was the best part, getting to hang out with my friends, getting to meet some new people, play some games. Played a lot of Star Wars Unlimited with some people. Um, that if you guys have not tried that game, that new card game from Fantasy Flight Games, it is excellent. I highly recommend it. So that was fun to play that with everyone. And then I think I may have mentioned it in other videos or online in various spaces, but this year I was doing something different with the list I was playing and the way I was treating worlds. In last year, as you all know, I played my favorite list, the list I tried hardest with in the whole game, the Guppy Special. It was my baby. I was so proud of it. I had played it for over a year in almost every tournament I attended, and it had had great success. And so when I took that to Worlds last year, I was trying really, really hard, and I put a lot into it, and I just got some bad matchups, some bad luck, and I made some bad plays in a couple games, and I just didn't have a great time. I think last year I finished like lower middle of the pack in the standings. I went 1-3. I was disappointed with my performance, and I realized I wasn't having an amazing time because I had really, really wanted to do well. And when I didn't do well, I just wasn't having as much fun in my games. And that is not, I think, at least this point in my Armada career, not what I want to be doing anymore. I've been playing this game for just about 7 years now. And I'm getting to the point where it's far more important for me to play for fun and play weird and interesting things, weird and interesting lists and strategies, than it is to play to win. I guess I don't have that competitive fire that I had in previous years. I'd rather just like create fun games for me and my opponent, right? I want to create good game experiences to where I'm not going to play really toxic stuff that my opponent is going to have a horrible time playing against. And I'm going to play lists that even if, I never win a game at the tournaments I go to. And if I get smashed every time, at least I know I'm going to have fun because my list is inherently fun. And so that's what this was this year. Wanted to try out some weird combos, some lesser taken ships. That's kind of just, I guess, how I like to play games. If I don't really like to play the meta stuff very much, I'd prefer to play kind of off the wall things and lesser played lists and cards in card games and ships in this game. So that's why we have the MC-75 Armored Cruiser, one of the I'd be comfortable calling it one of the worst ships in the game. Just if you're factoring in price and everything, it's a jack of all trades. I guess that is becoming a trend for me with the assault frigate and now this. But it's just kind of bloated in its price, and Rebel Larges as a whole are just not amazing. And so it's not in a very good spot in the meta right now, but I think it's a very fun ship. and it's something I've wanted to get on the table more, and so this was a great reason to do it. The whole shtick for this list, as you can see, is Flight Commander Rapid Launch Bays, and so it almost behaves a little bit like Demolisher, where I roll up to something, drop a bunch of bombers with Rapid Launch Bays, and then immediately have them attack with Flight Commander. It makes for some pretty cool moments. That's kind of why I chose this. If I get to do that every game, I'm gonna have a good time, even if I get smashed. It's gonna be fun, and so that's why those are there. It's Agate. I wanted it to be Riken, but kind of got stuck for points, as you'll see. I didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room. But it's Agate on the MC-75 with Flight Commander, Flight Controllers, Rapid Launch Bays, ECMs, external racks, leading shots, and H9s, which is why it has the list name. It's just a big MC-30 with Rapid Launch Bays, because you can kind of play it a bit like one in terms of rolling up to something and dropping H9 racks, looking for double arcs, etc. It was a lot of fun to fly, and I'll get into my games here shortly. We've also got the CR90B, a naked CR90B. That's why I said I'm really short on points. And so this serves a couple purposes in the list. A, it gives me table insurance in case I'm playing super aggressive with the MC75. I can keep the CR90 safe and not get tabled, which is nice, and which came up in one of my games. It is a little bit of fire support here and there, but it can also really be a nice blocker and like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of shepherd enemy ships into certain directions, which also happened in a game. And it just kind of it can be annoying. The other thing it does is one of my objectives is capture the VIP, and so it gives me a second thing to grab the VIP with. I personally really hate grabbing the VIP with flotillas, and so having this as when I deploy for VIP, I like to kind of do like a cross thing where the MC75 goes one way and the CR90 goes the other way, but they both at the end of turn one are sitting at distance one of the VIP token. So I've got two exit vectors and I can pick it up with whichever ship I think is safer. And so I like it for that. Then we've got two floats, one with 8R boosted and one with Torrent Far Comsnet. These are very standard. They've served their roles in the list. And then this is the squad ball. It's Lando, 10 Num, which was my kind of fun, spicy, exciting pick, Dutch, and Wedge, because I almost never play them. I wanted to try them out in taking them to a decently high level tournament. And then Gold Squadron, two YT2400s, and green. So you can see why I wanted it to be Riken, but I couldn't quite fit him. So Lando's there because Lando is very, very good. Lando is kind of has a bit of the Sloan problem of very low amounts of interactivity, right? Because if you're not Mahdi and you don't have squads to tie him down, he can just roll up to your flotilla and in one turn with 8R Talon or two turns normally, he can just say, hey, that flotilla's dead because he can guarantee go double-double and it can't do anything about it. And so, he's doesn't feel great to play against. And so in hindsight, kind of wish I would have taken Ketsu just for like more of the fun factor. Again, like I said, the goal was to create good experiences on the table, and Lando can sometimes, not incentivize those. But I still like him, and he still fits well if this list is trying to be competitive. 10 Num, man, is he's a hoot. I have played some 10 Num in the past, but not a ton because he's got a lot of problems, right? He's 19 points for a speed 2 bomber, and so he kind of, unless you're investing in a ton of extra tech to make B-Wings good, so if you're doing like a bunch of fighter coordination teams, maybe all fighters follow me, something to get around their speed 2 weakness, if you're not doing that, he's just not very good. And which is a shame because his ability is awesome. He's really the only splash that Rebels have access to. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think he is the only splash that Rebels get. And so that ability, when you get it off, is fantastic. It's just the problem of getting him where he needs to be consistently. And so the reason I felt okay taking him in my list, beyond just trying to have fun, was the fact that with Rapid Launch Bays and Flight Commander, I can guarantee that he gets to do something good like one time per game. Like I can move into range of a ship, drop him, and he bombs for a blue-black bomber, which is awesome. Or what was more applicable, sorry, I would move with the MC-75, get close to where the squad fight was happening, then drop 10 numb, and then with flight controllers, I'm rolling 3 blues looking for that crit to splash with. And so he ended up being good for me. In my first game, he did nothing. My second game, he absolutely popped off, which I'm excited to talk about. Third game, he really did nothing. And then fourth game, he was pretty good as well. And so I got mileage out of him, which was awesome because he was part of the reason I wanted to play this list. Then Dutch and Wedge, those are self-explanatory. They're just kind of the bulk of my anti-squad damage is in those two. Gold is there because Gold is great. He's a great bomber, and he's great to load into rapid launch bays. The YTs are YTs, and green because I had the points. And it's nice to have another bomber to where enemies may think twice about using PDICs on a single hit. But green honestly didn't do a ton in my games. The idea with the list is that against squads, you load Dutch, Wedge, and 10 num into the rapid launch bays. And then against squad lists, you do Dutch, 10 num, and gold squadron because you're going to roll up and bomb more stuff. You never put Lando in there because you want to be able to 8R Talon Lando, either move him and then 8R Talon him, and then he gets to attack in the squad phase, or better yet, attack with him twice. I had also thought about trying to 8R Talon 10 num in my games, but it never really came up. Like in the one applicable situation where I thought about it, he'd already killed enough stuff that it was better to move with Lando because Lando had grit, go get something else. But that combo was there if I wanted it. Same with, you can 8R Talon Gold. Squadron's another great target. So is Wedge. Heck, so is Dutch. All of these are great 8R Talon targets. So that's why he's in here. And then lastly, objectives, most wanted, capture the VIP, superior positions. Really not very spicy in that regard. The rest of the list kind of takes care of the spice. But most wanted because it's pretty good, and my list is decent at picking out a target and going for it. Capture the VIP because I've got an uber tanky flagship that can pick it up, or a really fast ship that can pick it up. And then superior positions, just because it's such a good objective when you've got squads, it can be flipped on you. However, I think this one has less of a chance of being flipped as something like Fighter Ambush. Fighter Ambush is just kind of bad. But superior positions, you get the deployment advantage plus, it's kind of it's unpickable for people with light or no squads. And so in the one game that someone did pick superior positions and tried to flip it on me, I was able to run away with that. And I think I won that 60-0 in objective points because my counter punch is so strong, which we'll get to. So looking at the ladder, I will cut to the chase. I ended up in 41st. I went 2-2. I was very close to making the cut. Cut was top 36, so I was one tournament point away from making the cut. I had an MOV of 339, so had I gotten one more tournament point somewhere, I would have made the cut because that would have been higher than the guy who ended up in 36th. But in thinking about it, at the end of day one, when results were starting to come in and I realized I was close to making the cut, the competitiveness in me kind of started to boil up of like, oh, I really hope I make it. I should go look at these other games that are going on to see, and, that hope that things go my way. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I think I'd just rather like play Star Wars Unlimited and hang out with my friends on days 2 and 3 rather than play 4 more rounds of this. And my list was fun, but I didn't think it was competitive enough to do much of anything. And so getting 41st was basically exactly what I wanted to do. I did better than last year by a wide margin. I felt like I played a lot better. I was so much happier. Like my mental was so much better, and it was a result that I can be proud of while also not taking my janky list and giving people free wins on day 2. So it ended up being a great day. But let me get into the games here. We'll go to round 1. So my round 1 game, if I can find myself, there we are, was against Nicholas Federico, one of our relatively local guys. He's from Kentucky and he's come up to one of our tournaments. So I had known him before. We'd actually played when I played that stupid Annie All the BS list. to prove a point when I won that store champ. I played against Nicholas in one of those rounds. Um, and he's a great guy. This was a really, really fun game. He was running the SSD. It was full Ravager kitted out, and it had some anti-squad tech, and so it was going to be tough for my squads to get in there safely. He also had two floats and a Raider, Raider flagship, which he flew aggressively. And long story short, the SSD had boarding trooper XI7s on it, and so once it got into range where it could really start hitting my MC75 hard, it just tore through it. I have all these beautiful Mon-Cal shields that I don't get to use because of XI7s. So that was a really tough matchup to run into round one, but it was a really fun game. I ended up just losing the MC75 and I killed, I think, everything else he had except for the SSD. Um, I was thinking about it in hindsight. One thing I could have done was just like run and play safe with the MC75. Um, had I been like super duper try hard, and I probably wouldn't have been playing this list anyway. But if that had been my mentality, instead of trying to have fun, that's probably the smart play. Would be to run away with my two actual capital ships and see if my squads can go kill his Gazantes and or Raider and play for this 6-5 or 7-4 win. But I kind of thought I would maybe try to grab the VIP, keep my MC75 in the mix, and he flew well. He trapped it at points and he blew it up. And so it was a fun game. I always love flying against the SSD and started my day with a 4. So then round 2, we dropped a few tables, and I got placed against Sasha. And Sasha, I believe, said he was from Colorado. He had known some of the Utah guys I'm friends with and was running Sloan with an ISD, 2, Demolisher, and I believe it was 2 Gazantes, I want to say. And so, kind of a classic Sloan build. Demo is a nice little wrinkle in there for some more damage. Um, and he picked my superior positions and was going to try to flip it on me. And this, for as kind of jank as my list was, and for as much as I was just playing for fun, this was definitely one of the best games I've ever played from like an execution point of view. Like it just it felt weird afterward. Like I was like, man, this is I flew other lists way more competitively. I tried way harder, but like I was just playing correctly. Like things were going right this game. I had Adar Town and Torrent Far were exactly where they needed to be the whole game. My MC75 got to get a great rapid launch bay flight commander off. It took punches from the enemy ISD and held strong. It one-shot Demolisher, which was fun with a double arc. I believe it was a double arc that I killed it with. Um, I scored 4 superior position tokens to my opponent's 0, and the best part was that 10 num got to go crazy. I wish I had more pictures to show. I had taken a couple in the moment, but they weren't very good, and they didn't show a whole lot. But man, so Sasha had alphaed in to my MC75. I had a few of my squads kind of around it, and so he jumped in, and I think he killed green, and he killed one of the YTs, and I'm trying to think, and gold. I think he killed 3 squads in his initial alpha, which was pretty good, but he had dedicated everything forward. And so then I got to flak with the MC75 and do some damage, and then got to drop Dutch, Wedge, and 10 num. And so Dutch hit, or Wedge hit something for 7 dice and obliterated it. I forget what it was. And then Dutch killed something, and then 10 num did 7 damage. He did, I think, 2 or 3 of his own damage, plus splashed 4 other things. And so 10 num did that bunch of damage, and then the next round did 4 more damage to bring him to 11 in 2 rounds, which was exactly what I wanted. And then with Adar Tau and Lando, who had been keeping very safe, was able to move up and pop some squads. And I ended up killing um everything but the ISD, 1 Gazanti, and a TIE Interceptor, which he reserve hangar decked and then flew away as fast as he could out of there. But yeah, it was just like everything went well. It was one of my best executed games I've ever had, and that felt good to be, playing casually and still like be able to do that. I felt like my mind was clear. I was playing free, and it really showed. And so that was a really, really fun game. I was really appreciative of that. Then round three, not as fun of a game. I had to play against the guy, Peter, who eventually won the World Championships. He is our current world champion, flying a Farmhawk list with, Starhawk Mark One, with Agate on it. He's got the slowdown tech with the Magnites and Phylons to stop you from moving and just really slap you really hard. He's got a Nebulon with Vanguard, which was a cool inclusion, two floats, and then some squads. I believe it was two VCXs, gold, and a Z, I want to say. Um, I am making this video relatively quickly, so I don't have all the lists handy. I apologize. But I looked at the table when he put stuff down, and I think we both kind of realized, at least I for sure did, be like, okay, well, this is gonna be a boring game. I hate Farm Hawk. I am not going to engage into it and try to fight the Hawk because I know I'm losing that battle 10 out of 10 times. And I don't think he's going to give me anything easy. And so this is going to be a 6-5 in either direction. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. I took advanced gunnery. I kept the MC-75 safe. He ended up getting my Adar flotilla in his front arc. He did a pretty good job of forking my flotillas and popped it. And then we traded some squads here and there. I killed one of his flotillas, and it ended up being a 6-5 to him. And he'd been kind of encouraging me to try to fight him. And I said, yeah, look, I can't. My MC-75, with your ability to bring me to speed 0, and you have advanced gunnery and everything, I cannot fight you. I will just get tabled. And so we just kind of flew around each other, and we finished our game in about an hour. And that was that. My distaste for Farm Hawk has not changed, but I've said this a lot. Peter was such a good opponent. For those of you who know, he's Peter Saber, does a lot of alt arts and stuff. I'd never met him before, so it was great to meet him. But he's such a good guy. He's funny. He was very nice. We had some good chat about stuff he was doing. And so it's, as much as I hate Farmhawk as a list, as an archetype, I think it's one of the worst things for this game is that it exists. I think the quality of the person playing it and the person across from you on the table is far more important than that. So even though it was my most hated list, the one thing I really didn't want to run up against, it was still a pleasant experience actually playing the game because my opponent was such a good guy. I can't speak highly enough about him. And so if in terms of quality of character of someone winning the world championships, I think Peter's pretty high up there. And so while I'm not happy that the Farmhawk is the world champion, I am happy that Peter is the world champion. And it was an honor to play against him and fly around each other for a little while. So that set me up in the mid tables for round 4. And so I wasn't really expecting to make the cut. So I was just going to, again, play fun and free. And I played against Andreas from Germany. And this was another fun game and ended up being a good win for me. Andreas was playing, I believe it was TF, I want to say. It was CIS. It was a Providence and then a Recusant and then 2 flotillas and some, I think 4 vultures. And so, kind of 2 really big, scary ships that I needed to keep in mind. And the game started off really rough. I believe we were playing My Capture the VIP again, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what objective we were playing. I do remember that top of round 2, his Pat's Fist had just barely gotten to long range of my CR90, and so he did Pat's Fist, swivels, rolled super hot, and just instantly one-shot my CR90. Got 3 accuracies and a bunch of damage. And I was like, okay, hey, good start. And so then I knew that I needed to play a bit safer with the MC-75. And so I ended up getting the MC-75 to double arc Pat's Fist and got my squads, cooking a little bit. They were killing vultures. They were starting to pressure some ships. I got to do my Flight Commander, Rapid Launch Bays, dropping 10 num and gold and Dutch in the front of the Recusant, who got to hit it, which was nice, getting some value there. And then he had a pivotal turn where he had a double arc with his Providence at close range with boarding troopers against, I think it had boarding troopers. Well, it was, oh no, it didn't. It had, I think it was rocket troopers. I forget exactly. Anyway, it was double arc close range of my MC-75 obstructed from both arcs, which I think factored into his decision. And he also had Pat's Fist double arced by my MC-75 in the front of my ship, who was certainly going to die. And so he made the decision to get value while he could and give up his really, really super good shot with the Providence. He instead went with the Recusant. You know, it hit my MC-75 pretty hard, but I'm Agate with ECMs, so I just kind of took it. And then he couldn't get out of my double. I didn't even need the double arc because I one-shot him out my front with some really hot dice with racks and H9s to block brace, and that was that. And so then once that Recusant was gone, my MC-75 was home free. I got to get out of close of the danger zone of the Providence, got to fly it away. I cleaned up basically everything else except the Providence and took the 8-3. And so that put me right on the edge for, it was a high 25 and it ended up being the lowest 26 that made the cut. And so while I didn't make the cut, it was a great day. It was against some great opponents. I had a lot of fun in my games, and I hope my opponents had fun too. Um, again, like I said, I wanted to bring something that was going to be fun for both of us. I hope that Rapid Launch Bays, 10 Flight Commander, that kind of thing was fun enough for everyone. But I had a great time, and that was what was important to me this time. It was more important than winning, was to, have a good time, to play, loose and free. And I think going forward, that's what I'm going to be doing. I remarked to some of my friends that going into Worlds, the fire was fading. I wasn't sure how much longer I was going to play this game, at anything other than bring it to the local game store on a Wednesday night and play with my buddies. But the Worlds reinvigorated some of that fire that I have for this game. It remains the best game I've ever played, and I've got a lot of ideas about what I want to do next. I want to play with Piet and victories and do a bunch of fun stuff, but it's purely going forward for me going to be like fun, kooky lists. I'm not gonna be grinding tournaments, trying to prove anything. I'm not gonna be putting everything I have into winning games anymore. Those days are behind me. It is gonna be just like this Worlds was, which is fly fun lists, try to create good game experiences for myself and my opponent, and just have a good time and enjoy all the cool stuff that's in this game. So that's going to wrap this up. Like I said, not going over a ton in this video. I think the next video I'm going to try to get done, assuming this mic quality isn't horrendous, I'm going to try to get that Imperial Squadron tier list done. Then we'll go into some more ship breakdowns, I think, and then sky's the limit from there. Like I said, I'm going to try to batch record some stuff going forward so I can have more videos to get out at certain intervals instead of waiting so long between recording sessions. But I appreciate everyone who's stuck with me, who's watched this video and all of my content. Thank you to everyone who I got to meet at Worlds. It's great meeting people from around the world who have seen my content and really getting to meet them in person. So thank you to everyone who came up and said hi, and obviously to all my friends for hanging out with me, playing Star Wars Unlimited, and having a good time. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and I'll catch you guys later.